Greetings, hello, and welcome to Tabletop Simulator and the Battlestar Galactica board game, and a quick introduction of what is happening in this game. So, there will be a video of me playing the game actually, going live now, but I thought giving a quick rules introduction here might help to actually understand what is happening and how the game works. So this is a cooperative board game based on the Battlestar Galactica TV series, the reimagined TV series. And it's a hidden traitor kind of game because there will be some players that will play against the group and, well, some that play for the group. So humans and Cylons are basically the two groups. And the game, it's not really obvious who's playing for which team. The way the game handles that is at the start of the game, each player draws a so-called loyalty card. Let me just flip the table, zoom in here, and these cards either say, hey, you're not a Cylon, or they would say, you are a Cylon. And these cards are obviously hidden. Each player gets one of those. And to keep things interesting, in the middle of the game, each player receives a second one, and that might override what your first one said. So basically to mirror what was in the TV series called a sleeper agent, who were Cylons that didn't even know they were Cylons until they were basically switched on. So the game itself works in a way that at the start of the game each player picks a character. These are not all the characters that are available. This is just the base game. We'll probably be playing with some expansions. Anyway, each character has a basic ability, an ability that they can use once per game, and a drawback, which are all listed on the card. So there are certain rules to character selection, like you need to have basically a political leader, a military leader, and a pilot. And so we'll see that while characters are being picked. Each character also has a certain skill set of cards, which you can see next to the portrait there, which they draw. So cards are basically these 5 different skill cards, and you will need them during the game. The game itself works in a way that whenever a character has its turn, they can use one move and one action. An action can be an action that is listed on a card, or an action that is listed on any of the locations on the game board. You can see various actions while running around on the ship. Pilots also can take actions in fighter craft, the Vipers, so they can fly around space and fight the Cylon ships that will be attacking. The human team loses when any of the resources that they have reaches 0, any single one, fuel, food, moral, population, or when the Galactica, the main ship, is destroyed. So there are these kind of damage tokens here, and when all locations would be damaged, then they are screwed, ships destroyed, humanity has lost. The human players win the game when they reach, well, it depends. There's several different win conditions depending on which one you select at the start of the game. In a normal game, you need to reach the planet of Kobol, which can be achieved by traveling a total distance of 8 and then jumping one more time. Distance means throughout the game, players, the admiral, will have to start to draw these destination cards, and each destination card has a distance indicator at the bottom there. So you see, this would be, well, kind of unlucky here. These are of all destination of 1, etc. So each turn, where the players play, player moves, takes an action, then a so-called crisis happens, and these crisis cards can advance this jump preparation track, and when the fleet jumps, we draw the destination card. So this whole cycle repeats until destination of H is reached. Then once the fleet jumps one more time, the game ends. If the resources are still above 0, obviously. Yeah, the final element, each player's turn, a crisis happens. A crisis can be a so-called skill check. You see some colors on the left-hand side. These determine which skill cards have a positive effect on the crisis. All other skill cards that are not listed here will have a negative effect. There are also crisis cards that cause enemy ships to attack Galactica. So in this case, you would have enemy base stars and raiders show up in front and behind Galactica, and they may or may not then attack. And you have civilian ships that show up that need to be defended. And there are also some crisis cards that require the current player to make a choice. So in this case, for example, the player can choose either to run the skill check that is listed on the top, or just take a loss to food for the fleet. You also have some special jobs that some people in the game will have to do. For example, there's going to be a president who can use the president's office and gets a special deck of cards, which are the so-called quorum cards, which allows them to do certain actions. You also have the admiral, which is your highest ranking military leader, will be the admiral of the fleet. They have access to nuclear weapons that we can use against enemies in space, and they make the decision when the fleet jumps where the jump goes to. Then there's also, of course, players who draw your silent card can either pretend to be a human and kind of try to subtly sabotage, or not so subtly, the fleet, or they can actually, as an action, play this your silent card and reveal themselves. In that case, they move from the human locations on the Galactica to silent locations here on the silent base star, which then allows them to do, well, silent actions. It also gives them access to super crisis cards, which, you know, are a little bit harder than regular crisis cards. I mean, that's part of the name. So yeah, and then either the silents or the humans win at the end of the game. That all depends on how well the humans work together and how sneakily the silents can sabotage the whole thing. I don't want to go too much into the details of all the little rules. If you have Tabletop Simulator and you download the mod, there are rule books for all the expansions. Daybreak, Exodus and Pegasus expansion here. You can like easily read through all of them, so this is all one-to-one as it is in the base game. And yeah, you have the reference here available and the whole thing on the table. So during the videos, I'll try to zoom in on as many details as possible so you can kind of read along, but I hope it will be enjoyable to watch. It is definitely enjoyable to play. And yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.